those present here today. I, of course, welcome my good friend, Secretary Cesar Chavez, and I think your entry into the PCO will further enhance the important role that it plays in communicating the um, programs of government, right? I hope that what we learn in broadcasting and in journalism, the discipline, complete staff work, accuracy in reporting, everything will be complied with. Yeah, Tala knows. USEC Tala is only being lent. Yeah, I was her first job. I mean, after Romulo, I was her first job in 1998. Yes. In short, pinalaki ko na yan. Di ba, Tala? Oh, so you bring to the PCO what you've learned from me, hopefully. If you learned something. Maybe you should tell them. Okay, before you read on the record, just in 30 seconds, what did you learn from me? Ayan, yan. Recitation. Okay, before, I always shock and surprise people, my staff, etc. Sometimes I speak engagements. I talk about ecological solid waste management. I call someone from the audience. Okay, oh, you've been with me 10 years. What have you learned from me? Okay, now, Yusek Tala, Yusek Charbet Karen, bakit ba Charbet Karen? Tala Maralit, okay. You've been with me since 1998, but there were gaps in between when I ran for vice president in laws and you worked with the Senate president, and really at the time. So please tell everyone present in this room who may or may not know you, what have you learned from, and you were with me until 2022. I'm never stingy with everybody. Even Honey Rose was with me. But when BBM was running for senator, I lent Honey Rose, and then she came back to me because he was running for senator at the time, and I was helping him with my network of leaders. You know that all over the country, including media. Because I will recall and say this on record. Bong Bong was so nice. He said, I call him Bong Bong then, of course. He said, Lauren, why do you make it seem so easy to run and win a senator? I said, it's not easy. You just win number one. I said, communications is important, media is important, etc. Then of course, I helped him, Honey Rose and other staff, and the media, all of it. At that time, wala pang social media. Then how would I know that same person, friend, eventually colleague, would become president? So when he became president, I said, sana palay kitang katabi, nagpalakas ako ng husto nung tayo'y magkasama sa Senado. We were always seatmates are talking. But I say that in jest and in fondness because many of the best and the brightest staff, whom I consider more than staff, and you know that, Tala, the way I treat you is family, right? Okay. Many of them are in government. They've left me temporarily, I hope, and then come back. Kasi, alangan man ako nag-train, tas kayo nakikinabang, di ba? But I'm training a new breed. As you see, iba yung galaw. Alam yan sa Senado, pag galing kay Loren Legarda, iba yung magalaw ng mga tao. Tahimik. At pagpunta ko sa opisina, bawal magsalita, puro trabaho. So I hope that's a discipline, that peace. In fact, all of you can train with me. 1 month. 1 month. Tina mo. No, Cesar. Sige, sa akin lahat sila. Sa akin lahat sila, 1 month, kung sinong mga matigas ang ulo or hindi marunong or what, bago o luma, sa akin 1 month, walang iyakan ha, titino lahat, believe me. Pero mahirap mag-train. Okay, Tala. So we recognize former Chief of Staff, now Undersecretary Tala Maralit. 30 seconds, just basic what you've learned from me since 1998.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning po. And
Only the good.
all good, ma'am. All good po. Ma'am, we were trained well about doing complete staff work for every task given to us. And we have to make sure that whatever information is forwarded to the principal is already vetted, and we make sure that we also know what we are talking about. So ayaw po ni ma'am na I don't know, I cannot do. And one important thing also is that ma'am does not accept cannot be done attitude. So we have to make sure that we are resourceful, we are creative in ways to make sure that we submit and comply with the instructions given to us. But more importantly, most importantly, I should say, ma'am, is that you trained us to be honest, with unblemished record for public service, and our integrity, as I would say, and I'm proud to say, ma'am, is intact. And we're proud that we're part of the Lauren Legarda School of Training Training School. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. You could say more, and perhaps later you can also share, because everything that you're saying, and all my staff, even perhaps Honey Rose, you, sa Malacanang, sila Lia, sila Cecil, all the political officers of SAP Lagdameo, yan, nandyan na rin. Pahiram lang yan, babalik kayo lahat sa akin. Gagawa na kayo ng booklet nyo. It's a template. Right? Kasi pag nanggaling sa akin, iba talaga. Diba? Asmina, Pangandaman. Oh, where is Attorney Doblon? Oh, alika, Yoli Doblon, tsaka. Oh, maski si Yoli naman akong magaling na. Pero I think, meron ka ring learning sa akin, di ba? Attorney Doblon? Oh, you want to sit here? Oh, sit here. Sige na. Importante lang kasi, we start on a high note on the good things you learn from veteran senators. Attorney Doblon, sit here, please. You should sit.
Come back.
No, okay, 30 seconds. Attorney Doblon came from DBM. She was head of the Senate LBRMO. Then she retired, and she's now my head of budget. Yes, so whatever augmentations you need, Tala, you have to talk to Yoli. You have to beg her for your budget. So just 30 seconds, even if you were a veteran when you joined me, but we've worked together since I was vice chair of the budget in 2013. And since I was a neophyte in 1998, just of your mind, what do you learn from working with me that you already did, that you did not know then, and probably incorporated into your? No, sige, yeah, you share it with them. Only the good.
I promise, ma'am, only the good. I worked with the senator when she was the chairman of the Committee on Finance. So maybe I would rather discuss nung chairman siya ng Committee on Finance, how she look at the budget, its nitty-gritty. We do not pass any item in the budget na hindi niya tinignan. Lahat ng amendment has to be discussed with her. And talagang pag pumasok siya sa part ng aming amendments, she knows that. Yun ang masasabi ko kay ma'am. And even the special provision has to be discussed with her. Walang oras, we go to her farm, we go to her house, sa kung saan man yun, kahit na anong time, basta magdi-discuss kami ng budget sa kanya. So it's really a hard work working with her.
It's really what?
A hard work. Yes.
I heard enjoyable. I feed you well.
Yes. At doon din ako lumaki.
Ano?
Sabi mo kasi, doon sabi mo, si Tala lumaki sa'yo. Doon din ako lumaki.
Aba, see? Lumaki tayo. That's true. So, Tala has been with me since 98, and Yoli in my 5 years as chairman of finance, and it's true. Whether it's in finance work or in journalism, whether it's in communications or in the work we do, complete staff work, every line of the budget I can answer. I even correct grammar, right? Even the period and the commas, even the wrong quotations, even the tenses, and that irritates me. But more importantly, the gist of what it is. We discuss each and every special provision. I never pretend I know anything and everything. In my 4 terms, and I'm 64, turning 65 in January, I never pretend to know everything, and I'm always excited for new learnings. I'm never embarrassed to ask what I do not know, which people may think I should know, because you should be humble enough to admit you don't know, so you learn. When you make a mistake, you apologize and correct it. Never say, akala ko. Never say, alam ko na yan. Huwag magiging hambog na alam mo lahat. Hindi. No one knows everything. No one can claim. So that's important. Attitude towards work. Learn all the time. Correct your mistakes. And correct people who make such mistakes. And the devil is in the details, right? Especially in the budget, in journalism, in communications. And no matter how bright a person is, no matter how skilled, talented, and knowledgeable, if you do not know how to communicate in the written, verbal, audio, video form, I don't think you'll be successful. A good communicator has half the battle won, but it also cannot be communicating and it's ampaw and it's hot air, right? So you must always have more than one or two sources and never fall into the prey, the temptation of inventions and fake news, because that's a disservice not just to your career and to yourself, but to the people we are serving by misleading them. So, just so that everybody knows what gets me: disinformation, misinformation, whether intentionally or not. Because if it's unintentional, that's stupidity and ignorance. Because if it's intentional, then that's betrayal of the public interest. So I guess I made my opening statement. Yes. So, so I'm happy to make my long-time, loyal, hardworking, and I can say that Yoli and Tala are two of the best government workers in the country. I'm proud of them. They've imbibed my complete staff work. They're honest, they're loyal, they're hardworking. Their life is their work, and work is their life. And I expect every staff, new and old, with me or not with me, if you work in government, you have to be dedicated, right? Yeah. I know some people are deathly scared, and with good reason, because I would not stand for mediocrity. And I would not stand for syndicates working in government or outside of government, as you've seen in some of our hearings. Okay. Having said that, I will request Director Sukandao to read into the record the presence of everyone here today. Then I will read my opening statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning po, and good morning to our honored guests. For today's budget briefing, we have as resource persons from the Presidential Communications Office and its attached agencies the following. We have the Honorable Secretary Cesar Chavez. Good morning, sir. From the Presidential Communications Office. We have Undersecretary Emerald Ann Ridao for Digital Media Services. We have Undersecretary Gerald Barria for Content Production. We have Undersecretary Tala or Sherbet Karen Maralit. Morning, Ms. Tala. We have Director Fernando Sanga from the Bureau of Broadcast Services. Mr. Mario Fetalino from the Bureau of Communication Services. We have Director Renato P. Acosta from the National Printing Office. We have Director Luis Morente from the News and Information Bureau. Director General Jose A. Torres Jr. from the Philippine Information Agency. We have General Manager Antonio Baltazar Nebrida Jr. Morning, sir, from the network, from the Philippine People's Television Network Incorporated. We have Mr. Jose Policarpio Jr., President and CEO of the International Broadcasting Corporation. We have Ms. Dulce Amor Quintana, the Planning Head for the Radio Television Malacanang. Attorney Hill Carlos Puyat from the APO Production Unit Incorporated, the President. And from the other offices and attached agencies, we have Assistant Secretary Evangeline De Leon for Operations of the PCO, Assistant Secretary Katrina Grace Ongoko for Administration of the PCO, Assistant Secretary Jefferson G. Ang for Finance. We have Assistant Secretary Patricia Kale Martin for Digital Media and Communications of the PCO, Assistant Secretary Michelle Andre Del Rosario for OSEC Affairs, Assistant Secretary Francisco Rodriguez III from the Office of the Secretary. And we have also, just in case they are needed, Madam Chair, we have from the Commission on Audit, State Auditor Elvira De Vera, State Auditor Joe Vincent Grisola and their team. We also have from the Philippine Statistics Authority, Attorney Elizer Ambatali from the Legal Service. Good morning. And in case they are needed, Madam Chair, we also have from the Department of Foreign Affairs, Undersecretary Jesus Domingo, and Assistant Secretary Adelio Angelito Cruz. That's all, Madam Chair, for this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Candao. Just read into the record my opening statement. The hearing of Subcommittee G of the Committee on Finance is called to order. Our agenda is the proposed 2025 budget of the Presidential Communications Office, along with attached agencies and corporations. As we deliberate on this budget, we must ensure that each peso allocated effectively serves the Filipino people. The PCO plays a vital role in shaping public understanding of government initiatives, informing citizens about essential services, and keeping them engaged in national development. With the advent of new technologies, the government now has a capability to directly reach the public, much like private media networks. This shift brings new opportunities, but also new challenges, particularly in combating misinformation, data privacy breaches, and fake news. The responsibility of the PCO is to not only raise the quality and accuracy of information, but to enhance the way it is gathered, stored, protected, used, and delivered. We seek to understand how the various agencies and corporations under the PCO collaborate, ensuring there is no redundancy in their functions. While multiple agencies provide more platforms for communication, it is essential to streamline efforts for greater efficiency. As you know, information is not just for consumption, it must empower and inspire. Citizens should be informed, engaged, and encouraged to participate in nation building. Clear, accurate communication fosters trust, but even a single misstep can erode public confidence. We must ensure that the PCO's technical capabilities also support not only the Office of the President, but the entire executive branch effectively. Knowledge is power, and through it, we envision a nation where every Filipino is empowered with the information they need to make choices that will improve their lives and will strengthen the country. So let this budget discussion today strengthen the communication systems that enlightens, inspires, and empowers every Filipino. So thank you very much. I will now listen to your presentation. Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Secretary Chavez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for
Bigyan mo sa gitna.
the guidance you earlier told us, not only as a team of PCO, but also as a civil servants. Thank you po. Good morning, Madam Chair. The Presidential Communications Office and its attached agencies and GOCCs are grateful for the committee for conducting this public briefing on our proposed budget for fiscal year 2025. May we just place on record that we have submitted to the committee a copy of full presentation, which includes our mandate, functions, organizational structure, programs, activities, and projects. But in the interest of time, we will proceed directly to our fiscal and financial performance, COA findings, and recommendations in our proposed budget for fiscal year 2025. We wish to emphasize that the PCO has been consistently achieving its targets. The PCO proper's Congress-approved performance indicators, targets and budget allocation under the GAA are shown on the succeeding slides. These targets are achieved through the synergy and collaboration of various operating units and units of PCO proper.
Can you please have the slide?
For the PCO proper's financial performance for 2023, almost 92% of the obligated funds under the 2023 GAA appropriations were already disbursed or paid. As of December 31, 2023, more than 85% of our released 2023 appropriations were utilized. The undisbursed portion of 2022 continuing appropriations was affected by the delay in the procurement of the broadcast equipment and furniture for the Visayas Media Hub in Mandaue City, Cebu, and the Government Communications Academy in Manolos, Fortich Bukidnon. Nonetheless, we were able to obligate allotments for these projects before the end of its validity. Hence, the obligation BUR for our 2022 continuing appropriations reached almost 94% by the end of 2023. The agency has achieved and exceeded all the targets of its performance indicators under the fiscal year 2023 General Appropriations Act. As of September 24, we have already incurred 53.9% of our available appropriations, out of which 81.4% have been paid or disbursed. The different clusters and units of PCO have already submitted their respective catch-up plans for the implementation of priority POPs in the fourth quarter to help increase our budget utilization rate, BUR. Moreover, we are also submitting to the DBM our request for additional funds to cover the deficiency for personal services allocation following the implementation and effectivity of EO number 64, series of 2024. To completely utilize our remaining 2023 continuing appropriations, we are now undergoing procurement of additional motor vehicles and new ICT equipment and software, which we hope to finish by the fourth quarter of this year. The agency has achieved and exceeded all its fiscal targets for first semester of the current year and is on track to achieve all its targets for the year. In 2023, the Commission on Audit provided us with valuable insights and recommendations following the annual audit they conducted. The PCO is proud to share that the agency received an unmodified opinion on our financial statements as of December 31, 2023. This means our financial reports accurately reflect the PCO's operations in financial standing for the said period, consisting with the generally accepted government accounting principles and standards. However, we acknowledge that there are still areas which we can improve. COA found that the PCO was not properly monitoring our office supplies, was not well enough, which led to the expiration of over 1,000 ink cartridges that were procured in fiscal year 2021 and delivered from February 2021 to April 2022. The items have been disposed, and we have since instituted better inventory and monitoring mechanisms. COA also noted that we underutilized, PCO underutilized our gender and development budget with only 1.5% of the total allocated funds being used. The GFPS committee has introduced new POPs which were implemented last year, and some POPs are also being implemented this year to fully utilize our GPB.
The GAD budget is an old law, and in fact, it's a very small percentage of a total budget. How can the GAD budget not be spent when there's so much communication needed that would benefit women, children, and gender issues? I can't understand why the GAD cannot be complied with. Ang liit-liit na nga ng percentage. Who's supposed to handle that? Would you like?
Ma'am?
That's a Shahani law, the GAD law. What percentage of the whole budget? 3%?
5%.
5%.
And it's usually, ma'am, monitored through attribution of activities that should
It's
be in
so
line
easy
with
to
gender.
produce programs, whether online or PTV4. You have the platforms
Yes.
for women empowerment, women in MSMEs, women in climate, women in the grassroots, and best practices, let's say, of women, or VAUSI, anti-violence against women and children, women counseling, bullying of women. Ang dami-dami. And the PCO cannot even spend 5% of a small budget. I'm very, very disappointed.
We understand, ma'am, but may we clarify po that in the previous administration, the GFPS submitted a list of activities to the PCW, to the Philippine Commission on Women, which were unimplemented for that year, I think 2022 po, and that was the basis of the COA findings. But since
So
then,
this
ma'am,
was a 2022 previous
Submission.
admin
Yes, ma'am.
COA finding,
Yes, ma'am.
not the previous year. So
2022.
you were 6 months into 2022,
Yes,
and this
ma'am.
was a 2022.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
Philippine Commission on Women had a collaboration
Yes.
with PCO, and this is the COA finding of that year.
For that
And
year.
the administration, the new people, just came in 2022.
Yes, ma'am. Now, under the leadership of Undersecretary Ridao, we have come up with a new list of activities and also other ways of implementing and complying with the 5% requirement under the GAD law po.
How much would this 5% GAD allocation be?
For our 2024, ma'am, let's base it on the 2024 GAA, which is we have a 1 billion
So
allocation
5% of
GAA.
1
So
billion
5% of
for
1
GAA
billion.
2024. How much would that be?
That 50 million. 50 million. Yes.
Have you, how did you spend the 50M? 5%, is that 5% of 1 billion, 50M? How did you spend the 50M for 2024? Yeah, we proceed with the presentation of Sec Chavez. We just have to explain this, yeah.
Ma'am, the PCO is a participant in the United Nations Commission on Women, Status on Women. So that is for every year we have participated, ma'am. Part of the budget goes into our participation at the UN headquarters in New York. Since then, we have also implemented programs with a theme for every month. So, for example,
Just a
during
minute. For 2024, the Philippine Commission on Women, of course, that's a Philippine agency, and you said that the PCW participates in the UN in New York. So
Yes.
biyahe ng tao. But what's the output? I'm asking not about the travels or the food or the hotels, but I'm asking about the activities and the programs spent for and in behalf of women and the impact of this 50 million, 50 million. You can produce so much content for the women of our country. But if you say the PCW that has a collab with PCO traveled to New York, when was this? Who went? What was done? And what were the activities and programs? May I be enlightened, please?
So, ma'am, in 2024, the delegation included Yusek Dala, and the PCO was the lead communications for that event. So we
Again,
communicated.
the PCO was the lead communications.
We provided communication support
Communications
for
what?
the event. Sorry, ma'am.
Which
so
event?
that
Which event was this?
for the Philippine participation in the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women.
This year. What
Every
month
year,
was
ma'am,
that?
we participate in
In March this
March of
year.
every year. Yes, ma'am. So this year we also held a side event that was particular to women in digital, so specifically catering to.
Kindly give me a report on the Philippine Commission of Women, PCW, and the PCO cooperation collab, and the trip to New York, and all the articles, press releases, captions, photos, video reels, a report on how the March Women's Day, Women's Month was conveyed to the Filipino people and the world. Yeah, I
If-
want to see the coverage.
If I may,
Thanks.
Madam Chair, we will immediately comply, not later than 3 p.m. tomorrow. But on top of this, let me assure the Chair, I'm quite familiar with the GAD law and the requirements in every government agencies. I led a few government agencies before PCO, and to me, this is a plug and play. Institutional capacity building, institutional development regarding GAD. I think they are a plug and play, and what will require now is a little creativity so that we can,
So, you went to New York in March. Yeah, Yusek Tala was there, and Yusek Ridao was also there, right? So kindly give me a report. I want to understand how the trip to New York was in compliance with the 5% GAD law. Because, of course, we spend the money, but we spend the money not just for travels, food, and hotel and transport. We want to see the quality of the programs of PCW and PCO and how it was communicated to our public and to the world, and what impact does it have? Everything has room for improvement, right? Okay, please proceed. Aside from the March trip to New York, what else? How else?
So, ma'am, for every month we follow a theme, and the activities follow that theme. So, for example, in February, because that is also Heart Month, and in line with Valentine's, we did promote safe sex and sexual education, as well as provide contraception actually for all the employees.
May I know who is the focal of the GAD compliance in the whole organization?
That would be me, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have, when did you join PCO, please? Yusek
In
Ridao.
2022, ma'am.
Yes. Do you have a program for GAD implementation? If you joined in 2022, the budget has been enacted by then. At least 2023 and 24, you would have a program for GAD compliance for women. If you have the monthly theme for women, what do you do? What's the... Honestly, I don't feel it. I don't see it. I don't feel it. Which platforms do you use? Do you have a PCO platform? Do you have a PCW platform? Is there someone from Philippine Commission on Women? I want to see how PCO is utilized to empower, to use a cliche, the Filipino woman so she overcomes the challenges and vulnerability she is facing in a growing population of 110, right? Yeah, so convince me that you've utilized the budget well and that the law of GAD is being implemented by the Communications Office.
Ma'am, we very much agree that that is the purpose of the PCO. And we will be submitting a report with all of the details.
Hear it now. So there was a trip to New York. Yeah, okay, there was a trip. So what's next?
In addition to that, ma'am, we also invite resource persons to expand the PCO employees' understanding of SOGSC, which is actually something that we hope to do every year. It's so that as the lead communications agency of the government, our communicators within PCO are equipped to use gender fair language and are aware of the situations around SOGI and related matters. We also are working with other agencies as well. We have held what we call a Unicom, which is where the GAD person, the GAD chair people and team, in connection with PCW, discuss the best practices.
Who is the head of PCW now? It's no longer Sandy Montano, no? No,
ma'am.
it's a new
She's
one.
very new.
Yes. So perhaps just please, number one, submit what you did in New York,
Okay, ma'am.
the output. And then submit to me thus far what you've done for your monthly women programs. And number three, should you not, as the focal in the PCO for GAD, Yusek Ridao, should you not meet with all the GAD focals in all government agencies so that you're assisting them in communicating programs for women, let's say in DENR, in Department of Agriculture, in DepEd, how they utilize, you can be an oversight for GAD implementation and guide them in the utilization of the budget for GAD, 5%, so that there's you're in sync. And
Ma'am,
remind me
that
to
is-
ask this of all agency.
Yes, ma'am.
No, in
Absolutely
fact,
correct.
I'll file a resolution in the Senate so that perhaps a Committee on Women chaired by Senator Rizzo can look at the utilization of the GAD budget of each government agency. Sometimes we take laws for granted eh. Ang tagal na ng batas na ito, but it's so important to comply with it.
Ms.
Please
Mem, that's
proceed, yeah.
exactly correct, which is why last year we hosted the first Unicom GAD, which is where we invited the PCW and the focals of certain agencies, particularly the ones that have lead programs in GAD budget utilization. And so we shared the best practices and also talked about how each of us should really be developing a 6-year program. We also sought the assistance of PCW so that we can be doing that within the PCO. Down the line, we hope to repeat the Unicom GAD as exactly as you said, to talk to the focals of other agencies, other departments in the administration on the utilization of their budgets. Also, at that previous Unicom, ma'am, we reconstituted the MJEC, which actually hadn't been done yet in this administration. That is the Media and Gender Equality Committee, ma'am. So with that reconstitution, we will be able to proceed with the programs as well.
Thank you. I would appreciate a report. We proceed with Secretary Chavez. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As earlier stated, we commit to submit in complete details the requested information from the PCO not later than 3 p.m. tomorrow. May I continue? For fiscal year 2025, we ensure that the proposed budget of the PCO are all aligned with the priorities of the administration as embodied in President's 8-point socioeconomic agenda, the Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028, and the fiscal year 2025 budget priorities framework of the government. While the specific budget trust and priorities for the agencies may vary depending on the prevailing socioeconomic and political context, the strategic direction set by the PCO management to guide the expenditure planning for our next year's operations can be summarized into these 5 main priority areas. Here are the examples of accomplished and ongoing POPs that are aligned with efficient and effective coverage and documentation of presidential engagements here and overseas. Presidential events encompass a wide range of activities including state visits, official meetings, conferences, public appearances, and ceremonial milestones and events, among others. Adequate budgetary support is essential for the efficient and effective coverage and documentation of these events. Here are the examples of accomplished and ongoing and upcoming POPs that are aligned with enhanced media coverage and information dissemination. Allocating additional resources will enable PCO to deploy a competent team of news writers, photographers, videographers, and support staff to provide comprehensive coverage of presidential events and engagement. This will facilitate accurate and timely dissemination of information to the public through various media channels and platforms and activities too. Here are the examples of PCO POPs that are aligned with strengthened transparency and accountability. By allocating additional budget for management and media coverage of presidential events, PCO can ensure that the public is kept informed about presidential activities, decisions, and engagements. This transparency allows citizens to evaluate the government's performance, participate in public discourse through available tools in the various social media assets, ultimately strengthening democratic processes and promoting good governance. The PCO likewise conducted Community Campus Caravan, where the PCO Media and Information Literacy Program was promoted. Moreover, the continued implementation of the Freedom of Information Program complements the government's efforts in upholding the principles of good governance. Here are the examples of accomplished and ongoing POPs that are aligned with aggressive promotion of government programs and policies. Adequate budgetary support will enable the PCO to develop comprehensive communication strategies in collaboration with the executive branch that effectively convey the President's vision, priorities, and progress to the public. This will not only create awareness and understanding among citizens,
Secretary Chavez, yes. You may continue. I just wanted to see number 5, Barangay Information Officers Network Summit. Was this a previous program, a present program, a prospective program? Are there barangay information officers? I am not familiar because I know all the barangay functionaries. I know barangay chairs and secretary and treasurer and officials, the SK chair and officials, and the functionaries, BHW, BNS, Lupon, Antay-Bausi, Tanod. I haven't heard that there are actually barangay information officers.
Madam Chair, with your permission, the focal person and the one managing this project is the Philippine Information Agency. With your permission, Mr. Joe Torres.
Because it says here, accomplished, meaning before you took your seat,
Po-
and ongoing. I'm not familiar that there are barangay that, I've been here since 1998, that there is such a person called a barangay information officer. Yeah. May we know who will speak? Sorry, I can't see. Please state your name and the agency. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I'm Joe Torres, Jose Torres Jr. of the Philippine Information Agency. The Barangay Information Officers Network used to be an informal network organized by the Philippine Information Agency in barangays all over the country, but not because of budgetary constraints. It has not been organized in all barangays or all provinces around the country. I can cite, for example, 5 municipalities in Basilan. They have a Barangay Information Officers Network. Those who sit as barangay information officers are the barangay secretaries. So, for example, in Pagadian City, all their barangay secretaries sit as barangay information officers.
Doble ang role.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So they are not like a BHW or a BNS appointed by the barangay chairman, allocated an allowance from the era of the barangay.
No, ma'am.
It's a function assigned to an existing official of the barangay.
Yes, ma'am.
Are they given compensation?
No, ma'am, because
Are they
it's-
given the tools? Are they given the training?
It is actually the plan of the current administration to
So it's a
to-
plan. So please don't put it under accomplished and ongoing. It says here accomplished and ongoing. So
It's-
I would, unless this was done before.
There are already ongoing activities and accomplished activities done by the Barangay Information Officers Network, ma'am. For instance, in Negros.
Talking about this administration 2022,
Yes, ma'am.
23.
Last year we had several activities of the Barangay Information Officers composed of barangay secretaries, and this year we are already allocating a little amount to pilot it in Mindanao. So actually the first Barangay Information Officers Summit will be done on October 17 in Zamboanga del Sur. We will gather about 681 Barangay Information Officers to equip them and to provide them the materials so that they will be able to help the government reach out to the people when it comes to information and education communication activities, ma'am.
Of the 42,004 barangays in the country, that's the latest. Anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, PIA. How many barangays are there as of June 30, 2024? In my knowledge, it's 42,004, unless I'm wrong. How many barangays are there? Basic.
That we have the Barangay Information Officers
No,
Network.
how many barangays are there in the Philippines?
I'm not.
Just Google it. I mean, not Google. Maybe Google may be wrong. You're the information hub. So a senator is asking the Philippine Information Agency to give me basic information on how many barangays are there in the country. I need to know.
Ma'am, we have 42,045 barangays all over the country.
Okay, so my information is wrong. It's 42,045.
Yes.
Not 42,004. Matuto kayo. Kaya nga, yan ang ibig ko sabihin, example yan. Ang DILG, 42,004. Ang PIA under PCO, 42,045. 45 minus 2, 43. 43, ano yan, palutang-lutang. So, before we proceed with this hearing, please find out, ayan, a test inaccuracy. So see, we can't be confused. If my staff is wrong, I would be happy to correct that. But if you're wrong, please put it on record. It's a simple question. how many barangays are there in the Philippines?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I want to help you. I like these barangay information officers. DILG galing yan. Sinong source? From their website. Maybe they have to, I don't know, it's 42004 or 42045. Kaya nga, information nga ang pinag-uusapan dito Tapos mali-mali ang bibigay nyo sa akin.
It comes from the DILG, ma'am.
Ano nga?
40,045.
We can't have two figures. I hope, Secretary Chavez, you understand my... before we proceed, we need to know how many barangays do we have.
Fully
Just
understood.
like we have to know how many provinces do we have. Just like we need to know how many cities and municipalities do we have. If we are to have a barangay information officers network, the basis is how many barangays?
Madam Chair, I think PSA is here. Otherwise, in their website, Philippine Statistics Authority, facts and figures, it is 42,046. PSA.
That's what I mean. You know, I may suspend this hearing. Nakakainis ang gobyerno, hindi nyo kasalanan. Ang PSA, 42,046. Ang DILG, 42,004. Ang PIA under PCO, 42,045. Suspend muna ang hearing. Magkasundo tayo kung ilang barangay.
Let it be my another priority agenda to
We cannot proceed because I'm interested in this barangay information officers. And I want to help you here. That's very good. But we have to decide how many barangays there are. Why don't you call the Liga ng Barangay? Okay, suspended. This is an example
Apo.
of inaccurate information, disinformation, misinformation, incomplete staff work. It's not your fault, sir. It's not your fault. It's not... See? Government agencies. Nakakagulo. Paano tayo magpapahiwating ng impormasyon sa taong bayan kung tayo mismo iba-iba? Right? Tell me, am I unreasonable? It's a simple question. How many barangays do we have in the Philippines? Let's say you are in the United Nations. Somebody says 42,004. 40,045. No, it's 40,046. Ano ba tayo? Unless new barangays were created? Yeah, can we have the latest figure? As of what? As of July 12, 2024, the PSA says it's 42,004. PIA says it's 42,045. Which is which? Unless there were barangays that were abolished, so it's now 42,004.
If I may, Madam Chair, as of June 30, 2024, and this is DILG, just to add to the literature, it's 42,004. This is, I think, important.
That's what I said, Secretary. That's what I said. And I was corrected by the gentleman, and he said it's 42,045. So kindly, I suspend the hearing, talk to each other, because if the main communications arm of government is confused and dishing out wrong or conflicting information just on basic information on the number of barangays, how can we even proceed? So the hearing is suspended, the briefing is suspended until you ascertain the correct number of barangays. Today's Thursday. Can't have it tomorrow. Next week, we'll have a hearing. I want it at 9 a.m. para maaga. Yeah, could be a whole day hearing. And please prepare. Tala, anticipate. You tell all of them. Oo, hindi to yung hearing as usual. Pag akong harap nyo, hindi. Susurin ko. I would request you to be more prepared in our next hearing next week. We start at 9 a.m. Yeah, eat your lunch, and I would request Secretary Chavez and Yusek Tala to talk to each and every one to know what they expect so that I can help you better. Because if you do not tell me what the program is and basic information, how can I help you? Okay, thank you. Suspended.